What a man hears, he may doubt. What he sees, he may possibly doubt. But what he does himself, he cannot doubt. Dr. Seaman A. Knapp.
Dr. Seaman A. Knapp, physician, professor, and university president, became the father of the Extension Service at the age of 70. Knapp knew that farmers weren't likely to make changes based on cheap talk. They weren't interested in theory, they were interested in results, and they wanted results they could see with their own eyes. So in 1903, Knapp created demonstration farms across Texas. In 1905, he hired farm demonstration agents in Mississippi. Soon, the Mississippi legislature saw that Knapp's strategy was successful, and they passed a bill providing for county departments of agriculture. On May 15, 1908, Adams County agreed to help fund the salary of a farm demonstration agent. They hired W.D. Clayton, making him the first special agent in the United States paid through federal, state, and local funds. Later that year, other counties in Mississippi also began hiring and partially funding farm demonstration agents, including James Booker in Bolivar County, Mississippi's first African-American farm demonstration agent. The average salary of these Pioneer County agents? Just $75 a month. But demonstration farms weren't useful only to grown men. They were also a way to reach and teach Mississippi's young people. At about the same time Knapp was creating farm demonstration plots, W.H. Smith, a school teacher in Holmes County, was realizing that what he was teaching in the classroom wasn't translating to his students' everyday lives on the farm.
Our system of rural schools is not producing satisfactory results because it's not showing the relationship between education and farm life. We need a school system that will produce educated farmers that will bring the boy or the girl into intelligent and sympathetic relation to the world around them. W.H. Smith.
In 1907, Smith set out to fix the problem by organizing what he called a corn club through the Holmes County school system. That fall, 82 of the boys in the club exhibited the corn they had grown using the farming methods Smith taught them. Some of their yields were as high as 120 bushels per acre, dwarfing the state average of 20 bushels per acre. Dr. Knapp attended the corn show and was so impressed by the yields that he appointed Smith a collaborator of the United States Department of Agriculture. The job title paid only $1 a year, but it meant that the Holmes County Corn Club became the first federally sponsored club for boys in the country, and Corn Club Smith became the first federal agent for club work. In Mississippi, we like to claim this as the birth of 4-H. The improvements seen on land soon expanded into the home. The Mississippi legislature passed a bill to employ home demonstration agents, and in 1911, just 3 years after the first farm demonstration agent was hired, the first home demonstration agent was hired. Her name was Susie V. Powell. She was charged with the task of starting girls' canning clubs in Mississippi, but Knapp knew her influence could reach far beyond a mason jar.
Through the tomato plant, you will get into the home garden, and by means of canning, you will get into the farm kitchen. It will depend upon your tact, judgment, common sense, and devotion to the work for what you may accomplish for the women and girls in their home. Teach them to mend and sew and cook, how to doctor, how to adorn the simple home and make it appear like a palace, how to make a simple arrangement so the environment of the home can be transformed into a place of beauty. Dr. Seaman A. Knapp.
Powell followed her instructions closely and found that Knapp's prediction was entirely accurate. Well loved by her girls, Powell was an effective teacher. The canning methods she taught enabled women to provide more nutritious meals for their families and offered them a way to earn extra income.
The canning did carry us into the farm kitchen. The character of the country can be judged by its homes. With clean, attractive homes, the youth become strong, upright, honorable citizens. Anything that will make the home better will improve citizenship. Susie V. Powell.
Powell's work added a third focus to what is now the Mississippi Extension Service. The three major elements, farm demonstrations, home demonstrations, and youth development, officially came together in 1914 when Congress passed the Smith-Lever Act. In Mississippi, Extension centered in Starkville at what was then Mississippi A&M College. Just a year later, in 1915, the state hired its first African-American district agent, M.M. Hubert. By the next year, there were 6 African-American agents in the state, and 1,000 African-American boys enrolled in 4-H clubs. Hubert helped create the first 4-H club camp for African-American youth. He went on to serve Extension for 37 years until his retirement in 1952. At about the same time, Susie Powell, now the state agent in charge of home demonstration work, recruited an African-American woman named Alice Carter Oliver to carry home demonstrations into the kitchens of African-American women in the state. Oliver worked in Coahoma County and made the most of the limited methods and means offered to her. Despite living in a time of segregation and racism, she created ways to meet with local politicians, all of whom were Caucasian, to tell them about the needs of the area's African-American citizens.
Many times I got through the front door of the boardroom by seeing the supervisor's wife or some other influential white lady at the back door. Sometimes the wife would put on her hat and go with me to meet the board. Alice Carter Oliver.
America entered World War I in 1917, and Mississippians did their part to increase and conserve the food supply. The federal government provided the funding to hire a county agent and a home demonstration agent for every county. Mississippi farmers saw a patriotic reason to diversify their crops, and the county agents showed them how to grow more food. Women in Mississippi began canning the food their families were growing, and like any labor of love, the project grew. In fact, Mississippi families produced so many canned tomatoes that the War Department bought them by the railroad carload through Extension-sponsored projects. By the end of the war, more Mississippians knew about the Extension Service than ever before. But Extension never stopped changing to meet the needs of its people. In the spring of 1927, a major levee on the Mississippi River broke, flooding much of the Mississippi Delta. More than 100,000 people were forced to evacuate their homes and live in refugee camps created on dry land. Many of them were sharecroppers and tenant farmers who had never heard of the Extension Service. In response, nearly every Extension staff member in the state was called into action. For the next several months, home demonstration agents worked tirelessly in the refugee camps to teach families about nutritious diets, sewing, preserving food, and better housekeeping. Meanwhile, county agents were kept busy rescuing and feeding livestock by the thousands. The 4 years of World War II brought with them phenomenal changes in agriculture. The war-torn world needed more food, just as droves of farm boys began leaving the farm in favor of city life. Labor dwindled, but improved technology and better methods made ever higher yields possible. Mississippi kept up with demand, thanks in no small part to the work Extension was doing in her communities. In 1962, William Bost was named Extension Director. At the time, Extension was still racially segregated in every way. Just 3 years into his tenure, Bost oversaw the integration of the Mississippi Extension Service. It was a difficult time of growth, but once again, Extension had the vision and leadership necessary to form the unified, racially diverse group it is today. Bost went on to lead the Extension Service for nearly 20 years, and by the time he retired, Mississippi was no longer the rural state it was when Extension began. The population was split nearly half and half into rural and urban areas. In response, Extension created new programs to fit a new state. Extension staff members developed programs in economic development, tourism development, home, lawn, and garden care, consumer finances, babysitting, health education, and parenting and child care, among others. Agents began trying new ways of reaching clients, newspaper columns, radio broadcast, and television programs. Today, Extension agents use online resources and social media to reach clients right where they are with the information they need to improve their lives. But no matter the subject, and no matter the delivery method, one thing has never changed. The heart of Extension has always been its people. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, Extension extends knowledge to change
one man,
one woman, one child,
one state,
one community,
one life at a time.